Ferb, I know what we're gonna do today. Now, what fully functional member of society would willingly play a DS game on Wii U? Well, I'll explain through a little story. Here is my Nintendo 2DS XL, with the game inside ready to be played. However, as you may notice, this console does not have any USB slots for video recording purposes. This has caused me great pain for when I'm deciding which games I can play for videos. I still have no idea how I'm going to record Ocarina 3D.
Legend of Zelda Phantom Hourglass came out in 2007 when the Nintendo DS was still making its rounds, and most Zelda fans shit all over it due to the fact that you control Link exclusively with the touchscreen. Normally, I'm 100% against motion controls or gimmicks and all that. In fact, I refuse to play the original Skyward Sword due to the motion controls. However, with Phantom Hourglass, I think that all the gimmicks add to the experience, making it a better game and a more memorable experience overall.
Little known fact about me, Phantom Hourglass was the first Zelda game I ever played. I wasn't smart enough to finish the game, but it didn't make it any less fun.
Just a quick side note, if the game looks pixelated or a little off, it's just because the DS games were meant to be viewed on the original little screen, and when you put them on a bigger screen, it makes it look kinda off. Alright, on to the story. Phantom Hourglass is a direct sequel to Wind Waker, so it begins around where that game left off, with Link sailing around with his buddies and his pirate wife Tetra, aka Princess Zelda. But that's not relevant to this game, so moving on. They come across the fabled ghost ship, and Tetra climbs aboard looking for treasure. Shortly after, they hear her scream, so Link tries to jump on the ship, but he drops into the ocean, falling unconscious. Link awakens on Murkay Island, being greeted by Seela, your fairy companion for the game, and she's lost her memory. She takes Link to Aushus, an old man with a suspicious amount of knowledge about ocean stuff. He reluctantly tells Link that he'll need the help of the 3 spirits to find the ghost ship and rescue Tetra, and also to seek the pirate Linebeck for the use of his ship. They find Linebeck trapped in the Temple of the Ocean King. Linebeck is a greedy, cowardly pirate that acts like a huge big shot and takes some obvious inspiration from one Johnson Depp. One of my favorite parts of the story is the banter between Seela and Linebeck. Linebeck is always quick to talk shit, and Seela doesn't take shit from anyone, and it's always funny every time they get into an argument. Linebeck agrees to sail Link around because he's interested in the treasure on the ghost ship. After some dungeons and whatnot, Link gathers all 3 of the spirits, and it's revealed by Aushus that Seela is the spirit of courage.
That's a surprise tool that can help us later.
With the help of the spirits, Link finds the ghost ship and on board finds Tetra as a frozen statue. Aushus appears with ocean magic and says that he is in fact the Ocean King. He says that he could revive Tetra, but his powers have been sealed in the bottom of the Temple of the Ocean King by an evil phantom called Bellum. Apparently, Bellum can only be destroyed by a special sword embedded with the magic of the Phantom Hourglass.
The fuck you mean I forgot to mention the Phantom Hourglass?
Link gets the Phantom Hourglass on his second visit to the Temple of the Ocean King, and the only thing it does is protect you from the temple sucking your soul out until the hourglass runs out. In order to make the sword, Link needs to gather 3 pure metals, so after about 5 hours of questing and stuff, Link gets the Phantom Sword and plows through the Temple of the Ocean King and fights Bellum at the bottom. Seela uses her power as the Spirit of Courage to give Link the ability to freeze time, and with this, he defeats Bellum. Aushus, with some of his power restored, teleports Link to Linebeck's ship and restores Tetra to life. Bellum returns, kidnapping Tetra again and possessing the ghost ship, leading to one final battle. Link and Linebeck board the ship, but in the process, Link gets kidnapped as well. Linebeck finally has a moment of courage as he picks up Link's sword and saves him. Turns out, Bellum doesn't like that shit and he possesses Johnny Linebeck Depp, leading to the actual final battle, where Link finally defeats Bellum for good, freeing Linebeck and restoring all of the Ocean King's power. Link and Tetra awaken on an empty ghost ship with their crew there to pick them up. They say that Link and Tetra were only gone 10 minutes, implying that the whole game was a dream. But then Link looks off into the distance seeing Linebeck sailing away, and with one final sound off from the ship, Phantom Hourglass comes to an end. The story itself is very cliché and predictable. Like, I knew who the Ocean King was as soon as Asha stepped foot on screen, but the story has tons of cute moments and characters that really bring it all together. Most of the side characters are either dead or forgettable. I swear, like, half the characters you talk to are bones lying on the ground. However, I think that the character designs and little moments make it a memorable experience, like how this guy on Merkay Island yells at you a lot, introducing new mechanics, asking if you've heard of them before, or this funny looking postman dude. Overall, the story is entertaining enough to keep me invested for the 15-hour adventure.
Alright people, it's time to look at this sexy little beast.
Playing on the gamepad looks like how it does on the screen, except without the borders, so it's just kinda empty. Surprisingly, it doesn't affect the gameplay a whole lot. It's just like if you were playing on a regular DS. Except for one instance. The fucking shooting gallery game. The way it works is you aim with the bottom screen at targets on the top screen, and on a DS it's pretty much 1-to-1, but on Wii U I spent 40 minutes on this one minigame. I had to change the screen orientation and hold the gamepad vertically to even stand a chance, and even then it still took forever. Other than that, there is one instance where you have to close the DS in order to transfer a symbol from one screen to the other. On Wii U, in order to do this, you just open the Virtual Console menu and it does the same thing.
Alright people, I think it's time we get into the controversial part of this video.
The only buttons you'll be using when playing this game is the D-pad to access the menu, items, and map, and the L button to bring up your items quickly. Everything else is done with the touchscreen. You move Link by holding where you want him to go, and you interact with things by tapping on them. You attack by either tapping on enemies or sliding across the screen. I think that Link's on-the-ground control works, and I didn't have any problems with it. I think it even helped in some cases, like with aiming arrows or bombs quickly. Just another quick side note, Phantom Hourglass is my favorite Zelda game to use bombs in, because when you throw them at something, they explode instantly, so you can spam bombs, and it's useful and hilarious. You won't just be controlling Link on foot. The other half of the game is sailing. In Wind Waker, I love sailing and exploring and visiting islands and all that, and in Phantom Hourglass, I still like exploring, but the sailing on the other hand is kinda ass. Unlike Wind Waker where you can freely sail, at least in Wind Waker HD, in Phantom Hourglass you have to stop and plot a course every time you want to move. If you want to change directions while moving, you have to stop and replot your course, and it kills any flow the sailing could have had. While sailing, you just sit and watch the ship go. You don't have to control it or nothing. Sometimes enemies will pop up that you shoot with a cannon by tapping on the screen, or some debris that you have to jump over will pop up, but these are more annoying than anything else. Sailing is frankly just boring, and it would be better if you could warp from island to island, but unfortunately you will spend lots of time just watching the ship go. You can get a fast travel mechanic around the second dungeon, so that alleviates the pain a teeny bit. The puzzles are where I think this game really shines. A huge mechanic of this game is drawing on your maps. You just press down on the D-pad and you can draw on any map that doesn't have this icon on it. Whether it be stupid drawings or super important information, you can draw or write whatever you want, and I think this makes for tons of great memory and observation puzzles. For example, there are a bunch of puzzles where you have to read signs to like pull switches in a certain order or something, and technically you could just memorize it, but it's heavily encouraged that you take notes on your map. You can mark the locations of traps or treasure or certain routes or anything really. It is the standout mechanic of the game, and frankly, I love it.
No, it is not because I like drawing dicks all over the screen.
The dungeons and items are pretty good, but nothing crazy for Zelda standards. All of the dungeons are linear and pretty short, but once again, I think the puzzles save the experience. I especially like the dungeon where you get the grappling hook and the unique ways that you use it. There's a puzzle where you see a platform with no connecting platforms, but it's too far to jump to. You'd think you have to grapple to it, but there's nothing to grapple on. I figured out that you have to make a rope between these 2 points and pull back on it and launch yourself across the gap. The game is full of ideas and puzzles like this. I think most of the bosses are fun and unique too. Some standouts are the first boss, where you have to combine these 3 ghost things in a specific order to damage it, and you have to look at the top screen at these little icons, and the amount of horns on their head is the order you have to combine them in. Another standout is a boss where the top screen is the boss's point of view, and you have to use that to shoot it in the face.
There is one part of the game that I have yet to talk about, and it is a deal breaker for most people. You know, other than the touchscreen.
The Temple of the Ocean King is a dungeon on the starting island that you revisit at least 4 or 5 times throughout the game. The gimmick is there's a time limit that drains every second you're not in one of these safe zones. Also, there are the phantom enemies that cannot be killed, and if you get hit by them, you lose time and are sent back to the start of the room, so the whole dungeon is a very long stealth section. The problem is that every time you come back to the dungeon, you have to do the entire thing over again. The way it works is you're making your way further down to find more sea charts to expand the explorable ocean, but every time you go back, you start at the top, so you have to do the same puzzles and rooms multiple times. It can be annoying, but it doesn't really bother me due to the fact that every time you revisit, you'll have new items, and this adds new and faster ways to navigate the dungeon. Although I will admit, it's satisfying to clean house at the end of the game when you get the Phantom Sword. Honestly, I think this game is kinda a hidden gem of the Zelda series. Most people write the game off as a DS gimmick showcase, and to be fair, it is, but underneath that is a unique Zelda experience. I think all the gimmicks add to the experience in a meaningful way. The important thing is that they work, they function. Unlike fucking Skyward Sword. Even Nintendo knew that y'all would be fucking haters on the touch controls. If the game was played with buttons, then it would be just a boring Wind Waker sequel, and nobody wants that. But with the DS features, I think that this is one of the most unique experiences in the series, and I loved it.
Alright, now just remember, the important thing is that the point goes to Tears of the Kingdom. Hey, that's a callback and a half, ain't it? You remember? From the first Zelda video? Do you remember? Alright, forget it.